Hello everybody! So today we're going to be reading the Xeno-Hero Bnha xenomorph male listener up in here. So we are currently in chapter 16, but I would go back a chapter, but I kind of can't because we had a side chapter of Christmas and it does not involve with this chapter. But basically, going all the way back to 15, we found out that wine has a completely new different form called the Ravager form, and they just revealed it as like the first part of the races start. And BHM, I forgot completely what they're called. Like the festival, some. But it's about to get really intense and really like showy in here, guys. It's gonna get good. It's gonna get good. Anyways, for some warnings getting into this story, there will be mentions of threats, violence, mentions of arranged marriages, and potential abuse. This is, if you guys remember the anime, this is around the time where where the festival, like I think this is in season 1 or 2 festival. You'll understand as you get more into the story. But basically, this is the part where there's going to be a part here where Todoroki basically kind of asks if Izuku is, All Might's secret love child or something, and kind of explains a little bit of his past with his father and his mother. And from the anime, y'all know it's pretty sad and really, really sad. So just prepare for that, guys. And there will be a lot of violence because, mwah. And there will be a sudden, cut off at the very end, guys. I'm so sorry. It's not my choice. The story just that was the last update to the story. So I'm just warning you guys so you can spill your tears now so you don't have to spill them later, because trust me, I was spilling tears the first time I read the story. So y'all have been warned. Chapter 16. Branching off. YN POV. President Mick. What's this? It seems YN of Class 1A has grown to enormous proportions. Although he's not as large as the opponents before him, he looks extremely cool. But now he needs to deal with the first barrier, Robo Inferno. The robots were much larger than I was, but that didn't discourage me. In fact, it made me excited for the upcoming fight. Robot. Prioritizing target. I roared at them, causing everyone to cover their ears in order to protect themselves from the deafening boom of my voice. Dinky, aren't those the 0-point villains from the entrance exam? Idro, yeah, and it looks like Wine's gonna fight them. The robot in front of me extended its hand out to grab me. Izuku, YN? I slightly turned my head to the left, acknowledging that I heard him. He then gave me a determined smile before pointing to the robot reaching out to me. Izuku, go. If I say this wrong, I'm so sorry. Go get thee. Whether that was the only word I needed to swing my blade arm up, successfully cutting the hand of the robot. It stopped for a moment, allowing me to spit a large amount of acid at its head, covering it completely. My acid quickly melted through the entire head of the machine, causing it to fall back limp. President Mick, YN has defeated the first opponent in a matter of seconds, kicking off this battle with a bang. I immediately went on the offense, using my powerful legs to jump up towards another robot's head with my blades extended in front of me. When I collided with the machine and stumbled back from the impact before quickly stabilizing itself, I began to rapidly stab into its head, cutting through its armor with ease. While I was busy killing the machine, I saw another two approach, and before they launched a punch towards me, although my speed and agility were disgraced in this form, I was still quick. So, I managed to jump down to the ground, avoiding the punches, making them connect with their ally's head instead. The combined force behind their punches caused the one they hit to go flying into another, destroying both. Izuku, well done, YN. My king's praise made me happy, causing my tail to rapidly wag, destroying a small group of robots that were approaching behind me. President Mick, that's 2 for 1! For a big guy, he's agile as a cat. What do you think of this mummy man? Aizawa, he's outnumbered, but he seems to know what he's doing. utilizing not only his entire body as a weapon, but also the robots themselves to destroy each other. It's like he's already experienced combat. I raised my head and shot another stream of acid at one of the other machines, coating it entirely in acid, causing it to be quickly reduced to nothing. The remaining machine raised its foot to crush me, but I dodged to the side, making it bury its foot in the ground. I activated my fire quirk, making my blades and tail grow bright red as red spikes on my back glowed. So my spikes show which of my quirks I'm using. That could be a problem. Regardless, I wrapped my tail around its leg before tightening quickly, melting through and separating its foot from its leg. It would have fallen off if ice hadn't suddenly enveloped us. What the? The candy cane ran past me, glaring at me as he did. President Mick, that ice stopped Lion's hot streak dead in its tracks. And for the first one through the first barrier, I Shoto Todoroki from Class 1A. So this little attack was his doing. I'll be sure to repay him. We can get through now. As the students began hesitantly running forward, the robot began to tip over. Shoto, I wouldn't if I were you. I froze them while the robot was imbalanced, and I made that thing angry. The robot fell to the side, causing everyone to run back as I spun around, using my tail to melt the ice on me and the surrounding area. I let out another loud roar as more robots appeared. Fighting them all will be a waste of time, and I need to ensure my king gets first place. Now I just need to find him. I only sniffed the air once before I was able to locate exactly where Izuku was. I turned behind me to see him in the crowd of humans, covering his face to protect himself from the dirt cloud made by the fall of the robot. I deactivated my quirk, making my blades and tail return to normal as the red spike on my back lost its glow. I rapidly ran towards the crowd, causing them to scream, panic and scatter as I rapidly approached. All except Izuku, who gave me a smile as I stopped in front of him. I sat down and lowered my head as he reached up with both hands and started petting my face. This action shocked the other humans as they thought I was going to attack him, but my reaction surprised them. Izuku, you did a great job, Boy, and I'm so proud of you. Those words caused joy and happiness to swell within me as my tail rapidly smacked the ground, causing everyone to jump and shake. Even the giant machine was bouncing off the ground. My king is proud of me. This is the greatest day of my life. Even better than when I ripped Danny's head off for challenging me. President Mick, as adorable as this scene is, the race is still going. Everyone began to run again, causing my king to panic. Izuku, oh, Ryan, we have to hurry. Please transform back. Obeying his command, I transformed back into my human form. The process was quick as soon as my blades became hands and my body shrunk. Back to my human form, I wrapped my tail around Izuku's waist before pulling him close to me and hugging him. He wrapped his arms around me as well before letting go with a smile on his face. Izuku, I love you too, but we need to hurry everyone else is already ahead of us. I just nodded before turning around and getting down on all fours. Izuku grabbed onto my shoulders as he placed his head on my back in order to protect himself from the wind that will blow against us. Ryan, please give these humans a head start, and I'll outrun them if you order me to. With that, I charged forward, and since I was in my human form, I was much faster. A small few robots appeared in our way, but I either dodged, melted, sliced, or rammed right through them. All the while, I made sure Izuku was protected by my body. I wonder if Inko was watching us. Third POV. Back in Midoriya residence, Inko was sitting on the couch in front of the TV, waving two small flags. One was green with Izuku's face on it, while the other was black with the xenomorph head and Ryan's face. Inko, I believe in you too. In the window, a small group of furry creatures were watching the TV unnoticed and in silence. Ryan POV. President Mick, look at that! Ryan and Izuku Midoriya of Class 1A have just caught up with the rest of the competition in only a matter of seconds. But now, they must pass the second barrier. I skidded to a stop behind Mina, Suyu, and Ochako, startling them into slipping off the ledge and into the abyss below. Izuku, Ryan, grab them! I quickly let go of Izuku to catch Ochako with my tail while I wrapped my arms around Mina's and Suyu's waist before pulling them back to me. President Mick, if you fall, you're out. If you don't want to fall, then crawl. It's the fall. That was a close one. They would have perished if I hadn't caught them. All three were pressed against me as I moved us away from the ledge safely. My king ran up to us frantically, apologizing for scaring them and asking if they were all right. Mina, yeah, we're okay. Oh, Chuckle, I thought that was gonna be the end of me. Suyu, thank you for saving us, YN. I brought all three of them into a hug, making their cheeks turn red. Ochako reached up and scratched underneath my chin, causing me to purr. My purring began to vibrate all three of them before I eventually released them from my embrace. Suyu gave me a small wave with a bit of red still on her face. Suyu, well, good luck, YN. She proceeded to turn around and jump onto a rope, beginning her journey to the other side. Mina, she's fast. Many other humans began to cross in their own way. The most unique that came way was from a female human with pink hair and a strange machine attached to their feet. As I looked at the distance between where we were and the other side, I got an idea. I could clear this in a few jumps. I wrapped my tail around Izuku's waist once more, surprising him as he held onto my shoulders. Izuku, what's your plan, YN? Mina and Ochako looked at me in curiosity of what I was doing as I began to walk backwards. YN, I'm gonna jump. Izuku, what? Are you sure you can cover that distance? YN, I would never execute an action I wasn't confident I would succeed in, especially if it involved your life. With that, I stopped walking and got down on all fours, preparing to jump as far as I could. My king tightened his hold on me while I did the same with my tail to ensure he didn't fall off. President Mick, look at this! It seems YN is going to attempt to jump through the entire course while carrying another student on his back. Let's see how it goes. I ran forward, and once I was at the edge, I did a powerful jump. I put so much strength behind it that the ground I took off on cracked and broke. We soared through the air for a few seconds before we began to be pulled down by gravity. Normally, I would land on my feet, but we passed the explosion human and he didn't seem too happy to see us. Katsuki, damn bastards, get out of my way! He made a large explosion, causing him to not only pass us, but to also knock me off course. We were rapidly approaching the ground of the other side, and the landing wouldn't be a soft one. So I quickly moved Izuku to my front, where I hugged him close before I turned my back to the ground, ready to take the full hit for my king. YN, we're going to land in a few seconds. Brace for impact. In response, he curled deeper into my chest as my back hit the ground. The impact caused my body to make a decently large hole in the ground as we skidded to a stop. President Mick, he did it! Ladies and gentlemen, not only did he make it to the other side, but he also took the force of that crash, landing for his friend. Now that's a true hero. Friend. I'm unworthy of my king's friendship, and I'm definitely no hero. All I am is a soldier following orders. Izuku, YN, are you alright? I was pulled from my thoughts by my king rapidly examining my body for any damage while I did the same for him. And once my quick scan of his body was complete, I found no damage on him or his clothes, meaning I did my job well. Some humans began to make it across, so we needed to start running if we want to pass the candy cane and the explosion human. YN, I'm alright, Izuku, but we're still in competition, so we need to get moving. Izuku, alright, come on. He got off of me as I pulled myself out of the hole I made and started running alongside my king. In a few seconds, we could already see the two giant signs with a skull in the center and danger mines ran behind them. If you look closely at the mouths of the skulls, you could see what appears to be a heart. President Mick, and now we've quickly arrived at the final barrier. The reality here is, I stopped and grabbed a random human to my right before tossing them in the middle of the field, causing an explosion of pink to go off. Izuku, why did you do that? YN, testing to see if the way ahead is safe for you, and for what I just saw, I'd say it's not safe. He just sighed as the loud human continued explaining the final obstacle. President Mick, it's a minefield. It's set up so that you can tell where the mines are if you look carefully. So, you'll have to exploit your eyes and legs. By the way, these mines are for games, so they're not that powerful, but they're loud and flashy enough to make you wet your pants. Aizawa, that depends on the person. The humans began to attempt to cross the minefield as a few triggered the explosions. So, do you want to do this, my king? Carry you across, clear a path for you, jump the entire thing, kill Izuku. Actually, I want to do this on my own. That sentence stopped me in my tracks as I remained frozen. Izuku immediately noticed my change in behavior as he frantically waved his arms around while explaining his reason. Does he not need me anymore? Izuku, it's just, you've done all the work for me in the first two obstacles, and I want to see how I would do on my own. There may be things you won't be here for, unlikely. Izuku, and I need to learn how to deal with those situations. I don't want to keep using you like some sort of tool to help me out whenever I encounter a problem. But that's my job. I'm meant to be used to attack, defend, and if the situation requires it, sacrifice myself for you. Izuku, so let me do this just on my own. If you really want to, you can help. I can't argue with orders, so Ryan, all right, my king, what's your plan? He gave me a smile as he began to tell me his plan. Third POV. While the event was going on, an invisible being looked down at the students. It seemed interested in the selected few, but what caught its eyes was the attention of the human xenomorph. It was unlike anything this being has seen before. Not only could it transform, but it also had powers. No doubt this creature was a powerful being, which means the hunt would be that much more interesting. It looked at its future prey one last time before turning and walking away. I never read that part, but ooh. Wyan POV. Wyan, are you sure about this, Izuku? We had just finished gathering a large amount of explosions into one pile that would result the explosion large and pink. Izuku, not really, but since you're with me, I feel like this plan could work out. That made me happy as my tail slightly wagged. Izuku, but are you sure about your part about the plan? When, of course, I was made to take a beating and keep fighting. He gave me a determined smile as more explosions went off behind us. Izuku, okay, let's do this. The people outside of our plan may be wondering what my role is. Well, it's simple. I grabbed Izuku and held him against my chest as I was in front of the mines. We gathered with my back facing them. Wyan, ready? Izuku, ready. I'm the launch pad. With this confirmation, I fell back onto the mines, causing us to be launched high into the air and towards the front. President Mick, a large explosion went off in the back, and the cause of this seems to be coming from Wyan and Izuku Midoriya. That phenomenal duo sure know how to do things with style. We soon began to come down too early due to our combined weight, and at this rate, we wouldn't make it to the other side. We were above the candy cane and the explosion human, which gave us an idea. Which gave me an idea. Wyan, once you land, keep running. Izuku, but what? I didn't let him finish as I tossed him towards the end while I tackled both the explosion and candy cane human to the ground. President Mick, it seems Wyan took a tumble, taking both previous leads contenders down with him. Katsuki, get the hell off of me, you overgrown lizard. I just planted both their faces onto the ground while I watched Izuku continue to run. Go, my king, get first place. The candy cane human being began to freeze my legs and lower body while the explosion human tried to blow my arms off. All the while, I stayed perfectly still, keeping them both pinned beneath me with ease. President Mick, right now, the first person back in the stadium is that man. Izuku Midoriya made a huge splash. The crowd began to scream and cheer as I let out a loud roar to celebrate my king's victory. Even though all the noise, I heard one sentence that made me excited. Izuku, Wyan, I've got a treat for you. I immediately took off breaking the ice I was nearly encased in and speeding past all the other humans ahead of me. In a few seconds, I skidded to a stop in front of Izuku, and sure enough, he had a snack in his hand and tears in his eyes. I stood up and gently took the snack from his hand before breaking it in half and giving him the bigger piece. I think I'm in second place, a fitting position since my king is first. President Mick, and now they're finishing off one another. We'll make a list of the results later, but for now, good work. Wyan, congratulations, Izuku. At this rate, you'll surpass All Might. More tears began to appear in his eyes, but I brushed them away before putting his half of my snack in his mouth. Food always makes people feel better. Ochako, Deku, Ryan, you two were amazing! I immediately recognized the kind human's voice, so I didn't react to the yelling or her approach. Izuku, Uraka! Ochako, first and second place are amazing! I still have a long way to go. My king immediately got flustered by the praise as he attempted to cover his face. It was just... He seemed to be going into deep thought more than likely about the events that transpired. As we waited, the second in command of the class arrived with the grape human attached to her back. Numeru, I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm a genius. Momo, you're the worst. You killed 2 birds? I'll have you know that I've allied with some of them. An attack on them is an attack on me and my soldiers. I threw my half-eaten cookie at the human grape, hitting him square in the head, launching him off the second and onto the wall. The second turned to me and gave me a grateful smile before walking away, but had a strange feeling we were being watched by something familiar throughout the entire event. Midnight. The first game of the first year stage is finally over. Now, take a look at the results. The results appeared, and as I predicted, my king was first, and I was beneath him in second. Midnight. The top 42 made it through to the next round. It's unfortunate, but don't worry. Even if you didn't make it, we've prepared another chance for you to shine. The real competition begins next. The press cavalry be all over it. Give it your all. As I looked around, I noticed the explosion human had an insane look on his face as he glared right at me. What did I do wrong? All I did was pin him beneath me and shove his face into the ground. Midnight. The next game will be a cavalry battle. A battle? Now this is more like it. I participated in a war before, so I'll be able to slaughter these humans no problem. Midnight. Let me explain. The participants can form teams of 2 to 4 people as they wish. It's basically the same thing as a regular cavalry battle, but the one thing that's different is I think we have different meanings of a cavalry battle human. Midnight. Based on the results of the last game, each person has been assigned a point value. I immediately tuned out what she was saying next as I realized my great mistake. But by making my king get first place, I've essentially placed a bounty on his head, but everyone gathered around my king with red eyes staring him down, so I let out a loud roar, causing them to back up in fear as I pulled my king closer to me. They'll need to get through the king's protector to claim the bounty, and I don't intend to let them touch even a single strand of his hair. Third POV. Every single one of the students looked at YN and Zuko, torn on what to do. They could try to get the bounty on Zuko's head, but then incur the wrath of his protector YN. An easy decision for a sane person, but these students are desperate to win, and desperate people make stupid decisions. Warning lengthy. And this is from the author. Firstly, how are you doing? Secondly, I got all my achievements on Star Wars Battlefront 2, so I'm proud of myself. Thirdly, trilogy of my second book is out. And finally, happy Valentine's Day to all those poor lonely people out there like me, so I give you some of my useless love. Thank you, not Valentine's Day, but still greatly appreciated. Chapter 17. Cavalry Battle. Izuku POV. Wine was holding me close and was growling at anyone who even looked at me. I tried to calm him down with treats, but I guess being in a crowd of people has him agitated. Needless to say, everyone backed away, frightened by his protective behavior. Midnight. Now then, I will explain the rules of the cavalry battle. The time limit is 15 minutes. Each team is worth a total of its members' points, and the riders will wear a headband with that number on their foreheads. Teams will try to grab one another's headbands until the time runs out, and try to keep as many points as they can. Stolen headbands must be worn from the neck up. The more you steal, the harder it'll be to manage them. So the most important thing is that even if your headband gets stolen, or if your team falls, you're not out. Everyone began to talk amongst themselves about the information they just received. I looked up at YN, causing him to look down at me before tilting his head and smiling. Izuku, what do you think about the upcoming event? YN, you've done amazing so far, Izuku. I have no doubt you will come in first again. I smiled up at him just as Midnight continued to explain the rules of this event. Midnight. During the game, it will be a cruel fight where you can use your quirks, but it is still a cavalry battle. You'll get a red card for attacks that are trying to make people fall on purpose. You'll be removed immediately. Ryan groaned before laying his chin on my head, seemingly upset that he won't be able to knock down the other students. I just lifted my hand and rubbed his head, causing him to release a purr and his tail to wag. Midnight. Now, you have 15 minutes to build your team. Start. Wine's POV. Team? I highly doubt anyone would want to work alongside us, either because my king has a huge target on his head, or they fear me. My king went into deep thought, more than likely thinking up a strategy. As to entertain myself, I observed the humans. Some of our classmates were trying to convince the explosion human to join their team. A few humans even approached me, but I just growled at them, causing them to run away in fear. Foolish humans. My loyalty will always lie with Izuku. My king seemed to be done thinking as he tapped my arm to get my attention. I let go of him, allowing him to turn around and face me. Izuku, come on. We have to find some teammates before the 15 minutes are up. But with me on your side, you won't need any other help. He began to walk off, so I quickly followed behind him while keeping an eye out for any foes. Izuku soon approached the human with the tail. Izuku, Ujiro? He turned around and began to walk away while using his tail to cover his face. Mushiro, sorry. This action enraged me as I began to growl before walking towards him. How dare you ignore my king? I will cut off your tail and hang you with it! Izuku quickly grabbed my arm and pulled me back, preventing me from quickly going after and mutilating the human. Izuku, calm down. We can just find someone else. Ochako, Deku, YN! We both turned to the sound of the kind human's voice. She came running up to us with a smile on her face. I sat down next to Izuku as Arako stopped in front of us. Ochako, let's be a team. That sentence made my king let out a large amount of tears, coating both me and Araka in water. Izuku, Araka, is it really okay? Everyone will probably be after me because of my 10 million points. I don't think humans are meant to release this much liquid. Due to the tears drenching me, my hair fell down, covering my eyes. Ochako, if we run away the whole time, then you'll win, right? The showers of tears stopped as I tried to shake the water off. Izuku, I think you're overestimating me, Araka. Ochako, like I would. Besides, we have YN, and with him on our side, we can't lose. They both turned in my direction, only to see me shaking the water off like a dog. Izuku and Ochako approached me and moved my hair out of my eyes, allowing me to see their smiling faces. I gave him a smile of my own before standing up and shaking my head to get rid of the water in my hair. Ochako, anyway, it's better to team up with people you can get along with. My king then made a strange face as red dusted his cheeks. Ochako, what's the matter? You look ugly, you know. I pulled Izuku into a hug as I glared and hissed at Araka. That is the second time you called my king ugly. He's the most adorable human being on this planet, second to none. She slightly flinched at my aggressive behavior before pulling out a chocolate chip cookie. My tail betrayed my will as it began to rapidly wag from mere sight of the treat. I let go of Izuku before slowly crouching down, my eyes not leaving the cookie. Ochako, here you go. She tossed it towards me, allowing me to leap forward and catch the treat before eating it in one bite. I went back to Izuku's side, now content due to the snack. I guess I can forgive you for this time for that insult, but next time, I'll make it a lot more than one snack to win my forgiveness. My king finally dried his eyes before turning back to Raka. Izuku, actually, I want to team up with you too. Thanks. For teams, I think it's best with people you can communicate with smoothly, right? Ochako, yep. Izuku, actually, your quirk and one other person. I thought of a plan. He turned in the direction of the last fast human who had his back turned to us. We quickly made our way to him with Izuku in front, leading us and me in the back. Izuku, Ida. He turned around just as Izuku and Ochako gave him an adorable look of determination. My king was now explaining his plan for the upcoming event. I was lying on the ground to the left of Izuku, with Ochako rubbing my head as she paid attention to the explanation. Izuku, the three of us would be the horses of Ida in the front, and then if we use Araka's quirk to make Ida and me lighter, we'll be able to maneuver easily. Ochako, I see. Izuku, it's better to have someone physically strong as the rider. I was thinking YN could be the rider, but he might run after the other contestants. Anyway, this is all I could think of to keep running away until the end. Tenya, I expected no less, Midoriya, but I'm afraid I have to refuse. Both me and Ochako gasped as I looked up at Ida. Tenya, ever since the entrance exam, I keep losing to you and YN. You are a wonderful friend, but that's why. If I just keep following you, I will never grow. Bakugo and Todoroki aren't the only ones who see you as a rival. I got up as he began to walk away. Izuku held his arm out in front of me to make sure I didn't go after him. Tenya, I will challenge you. Then you will fall like the others who challenged my king. Ochako, Ida. Everyone was looking right at Izuku, making their attentions clear to me. I placed my hands on his shoulders and growled at the humans, showing they would need to deal with me if they wanted to get to him. My aggressive display worked in deterring the majority of the humans, all except two. The candy cane and the explosive human glared at me, which I gladly returned. We soon heard a strange noise behind us, which caused us to turn around. A human with pink hair was hovering out towards us wearing strange shoes. As I thought, this is great. You stand out. Team up with me, person in first place. She quickly launched forward, stopping right in front of my king's face and causing me to growl at the unknown human. Izuku, oh, so close. Who are you? Mia, oh, I'm Mia Hatsumi, from the support course. She removed her goggles just as Ochako seemed to remember her. Ochako, oh, that weird person from back then. Mina, I don't know you, but let me use your position. Izuku, she's honest. Mina, if I team up with you, then I'll inevitably become part of the team everyone's watching most, right? If that happens, then my super cute babies will inevitably be seen by the big companies. She began to get even closer, causing my growls to grow louder as my tail curled around in preparation to strike. Izuku and Ochako began to glance at me while trying to pay attention to what the pink-haired human was saying. That means, in other words, that those big companies will see my babies. Ochako, wait a minute. Babies and big companies? What are you, Mia? And I think you guys will also benefit. Uraka went completely ignored by the pink-haired human as she continued to speak with my king. Mia, the support course develops equipment that help heroes deal with their quirks. I have tons of babies, so I'm sure I'll be able to find one that you like. Oh, has this one caught your eye? I sat down, seeing she wasn't really a threat anymore, so just an annoying presence. So she was soon holding up a strange metal backpack. I made this based on a certain hero's backpack, adding my own original twist to it. My king immediately knew who she was talking about. Izuku, could it be that you're talking about the Buster Hero Airjet? I remember that human. We went inside a giant building Izuku told me was his agency. I nearly destroyed the entire building, but luckily we left before they could find me. Good times. They both began to excitedly talk to each other while I just sat there observing my surroundings. My eyes eventually landed on Ochako, who seemed lonely, so I got up and made my way to her. Her smile returned as she saw me approaching. Ochako, hey, Wayan. Wayan, hello, Raka. I sat down at her feet as we both looked at Izuku and Mei, who were still speaking happily. It seemed he didn't even notice me leave. Ochako, they seem to be getting along well, huh? Wayan, yes, I'm glad Izuku has found a potential friend. A silence fell over us for a few seconds before Raka asked me a question. Ochako, I've been meaning to ask. Can you speak? Wayan, I've only tried a few times, and every single time my throat hurt afterwards. Ochako, maybe you just need to speak more frequently to get your throat used to speaking. She then began to pet my head, which caused me to release a purr as my tail began to wag. She whispered to herself, but I could hear her clearly. Ochako, you are really a giant puppy. That is an insult to my pride as a warrior, but these head pats feel nice, so I'll let it slide. I could feel someone watching us, so I opened my eyes and looked around. Turns out it was the same blonde human from the cafeteria. He noticed me staring back at him, which caused him to give me an evil smirk before walking away. I've made many enemies, haven't I? I need to keep an eye on that human. Who knows what he'll do when we aren't looking? Izuku, Wayan? I perked up at the call of my name and turned in my king's direction. He slightly crouched down before tapping his knees, signaling me to go to him. I immediately ran to him on all fours in order to go faster. I skidded to a stop at his feet to make sure to not kick up any dirt in his direction. He smiled at me before patting my head. Izuku, I'm going to run you through the plan, okay? I nodded, making sure to follow my king's plan to the letter. The clock went to 0, causing the alarm to sound before it went silent. Midnight. Now then, it's about time to get started. President Mick, After 15 minutes to form teams and talk strategy, 12 cavalry teams are lined on the field. Izuku was on my back, with Mei on our right and Ochako on our left. President Mick, now, raise those battle cries. It's time for UA's bloody battle. My king finished tying his headband before lowering his head to my ear and whispering, Izuku, please don't get too aggressive. We don't want you to actually kill anyone. I sighed, annoyed that I won't be allowed to rip any humans apart. Wyan, fine. That answer seemed to satisfy him as he said a quick thank you before he got ready for the event to begin. President Mick, light the signal fire. Izuku, Uraka, Ochako, yes. Izuku, Hatsume. She looked up at him before giggling, seemingly excited for what's to come. Izuku, Wyan. Izuku, I'm counting on you. The crowd of humans began to cheer loudly as I scanned the seats, until my eyes landed on a human with fire on his face. He was staring at me with a glare which reminded me of the candy cane human. I just returned my attention to the task at hand. President Mick, all right, you've made your teams, right? I'm not going to ask if you're ready or not. Now, let's go. Counting down to the brutal battle royale. My tail wrapped around Izuku for more security as I let out low growls. President Mick, 3! These humans are aiming for one thing. President Mick, 2! My king. And as his loyal protector, I must defend him. President Mick, 1! At all costs. Midnight, start! Immediately, all teams began rushing forward towards us. I began to tear up acid in my mouth in order to cover a larger area. Ochako, what do we do? Izuku, of course. Our move is to run away. Tactically retreating. Absolutely genius. Before we could move to the ground beneath us became softer and soon we were sinking. The other teams began to close on in. So I prepared to spit out the acid I was storing in order to delay them, at least long enough for us to escape. Ochako, it's no good. I can't get out. I launched a wave of acid towards the other team, successfully coating nearly the entire area in front of us. Look out! They all scattered in order to avoid certain death. Luckily for them, they managed to flee in time. The area my acid landed and began to sizzle as it quickly melted away. Izuku, Uraka, Hatsume, turn your faces away. They did it as told as Izuku pressed a button, causing his jetpack to activate. Soon, we were lifted off the ground before we were sent soaring in the air. This brings back memories of me jumping through space with my siblings. Huh? Tetsume, follow them. Toru, Jiro, Kaiko, I know. I quickly unwrapped my tail from Izuku and smacked Jiro's headphone jacks away. Izuku, nice job, Wyan. I let out a happy hiss as my tail wagged in the air. Ochako, we're landing. She used her shoes to slow our descent until we landed safely onto the ground. We continued running now, with some distance between us and the other teams. Me, what do you think of my babies? Aren't they cute? Cuteness can be made, you know. Your obsession with your machines is kind of concerning, human. Izuku, excellent mobility. These babies are amazing, Hatsume. Mia, right? Ochako, it seems I'm making them float. It's because I'm making them float. President Mick, now then, even though barely 2 minutes have passed since we started, it's already turned into a free-for-all. Fights over the headbands breaking out all over. Ignoring the 10 million points and going for the 2nd to 4th places isn't bad either. While we were running, a loud laugh made us stop. It was the grape human, but we all saw was a human with many arms running at us. Mirano fighting? No. This is a one-sided pillage. Yeah. Izuku, Shoji? What, by himself? It's a team battle! I sniffed the air, catching not only the scent of Tsuyu and the grape human coming from Shoji, but also multiple unknown scents in front of us. If they catch us in a pincer, they might have the chance of coming close to Izuku, but I won't give them that chance. Wyan, Izuku, we are about to be surrounded by multiple enemies. Your orders? Izuku, let's run before they catch up to us. Following his order, we tried to run, but Uraka's left foot seemed to be stuck on the ground. Ochako, what? Izuku, what's wrong, Uraka? Ochako, I'm stuck. A purple ball was keeping her foot anchored to the ground. Izuku, what's Minetta's? Where'd it come from? He began to look around as I looked right in between the space of Shoji's arms. I could see both Tsuyu and the grape human looking out at us from the safety of their human shield. Munro, from here, Midoriya. My king looked to where the voice came from and finally saw the small human who was waving at him. Zuko, what? Is that allowed? Midnight, it is! I must applaud my enemy's creativity, but that won't protect them from me. The small human retreated back as my tongue shot out towards my king. Quickly using my tail to lower his head and causing Suyu to miss. Her tongue retreated back as I prepared to defend us. Suyu, I didn't expect any less from you two. Izuku, I sue you too? That's amazing, Shoji. Suyu, call me Sue. A barrage of purple balls followed by Suyu's tongue came at us. I used my tail to block the projectiles while I smacked Suyu's tongue. President Mick, Team Bnha makes use of the overwhelming difference in their sizes. They're like a tank. Team Midoriya's defense is holding strong, but how long can they keep up? Not long if we don't escape or counterattack. Wyan, my king, we need to leave, quickly. Izuku quickly activated his jetpack, but since Uraka's foot was still stuck, we were launched in the air, her shoe was destroyed. My baby was torn apart. Izuku, sorry, but we got away. While we were soaring through the air, the explosive human quickly made his way up to us, using his explosion to propel himself. Izuku, Kachan! Katsuki, don't get carried away! He reached out to shoot an explosion at Izuku, but I turned us all around just in time for me to take the full force of the explosion instead. I stared at the explosion human in the eyes as the smoke cleared. Since my hands were holding Izuku and I couldn't truly retaliate, so I just smacked him away with my tail. Izuku, are you alright? I've received worse injuries. Our landing was a little rougher due to Uraka's left shoe being destroyed. Izuku, thanks, Uraka. Ochako, it's hard to control with just one foot. Izuku, yeah, I know. President Mick, as expected, everyone's after the first place team. Team A is in hot pursuit. Everyone's got skills. Now, let's take a look at each of the team's points. It's been 7 minutes. Here are the current rankings up on the screen. I took a quick look at the screen only to see something strange. Our team was the only one from Class A with points. President Mick, what? Wait a minute. Other than Midoriya, Class A ain't doing so well. What truly surprised me was that even the explosion human lost his headband. President Mick, what? Bakugo? Nito, Class A is too simple-minded. I looked behind us and saw the blonde human taking Bakugo's headband. He also had several headbands around his neck. So that's what his plan was. Go after the other headbands while they were distracted by us. He's a smart one. Perhaps consuming his brain will benefit me. Katsuki, what'd you say, bastard? Give that back! I'll kill you! Nieto, since Midnight said it was the first game, it wouldn't make sense for them to cut a ton of people in the qualifier, right? Assuming they'd keep worrying about 40 people for the next stage, we just made sure we stayed within that number as we ran, observing from the back the quirks and the personality of those who would be our rivals. This is why I leave the thinking up to Izuku. I'm more of a kill first, think later kind of alien. Nitu, there is no point in being obsessive over winning in the primals, right? Katsuki, you did this as a class? The blonde human began tying the headband to his neck as he answered Bakugo. Nyoto, well, it wasn't a cosense, but it was a good idea, right? It's better than going after the temporary top, like a horse with a carrot waving in front of its face. Oh, well, I'm at it. You're famous, aren't you? As a victim of the sludge incident, I could sense the rapidly increasing aggression of the explosive human the longer he listened. Nyoto, tell me about it sometime. About how it feels to be attacked by villains once a year. I've attacked him nearly every day since I met him, and I wouldn't mind switching my attention to you for a while. Katsuki, Kirishima, change of plan. Anger and rage was now radiating off of him as he told his team the new plan. Katsuki, before we get Deku, let's kill all of these guys! Izuku, everyone. It'll be easier to run away. I skidded to a stop, causing everyone to stumble onto my back. I began growling at the enemy team in front of us as everyone regained their balance. Izuku, Wyan, what's wrong? He cut himself as I looked up, allowing him to see the Candy King human glaring at us. President Mick, less than half the time is left now. Izuku, it won't be that easy, huh? Apparently not. President Mick, the Cavalry battle is about to enter the second half. In this unexpected rise of Class B, who will wear the 10 million points in the end? The Candy Cane switched his glare from me to Izuku, causing me to get more agitated. Shoto, I'll be taking that now. I'll snap your arm in half if you try. I gently wrapped my tail around everyone and slowly began to lift them up. Uraka and Hatsumi grabbed onto my tail to stabilize themselves while Izuku held on to my shoulders. YN. Izuku, could you remove my collar, please? Izuku. Why? YN. I don't want to accidentally break something precious you gave me. A small smile formed on his face while I said that as he removed my collar and held onto it. I began to transform back into my Ravager form, causing the candy cane's tail to pip back up and out in fear. Only a few seconds, the process was complete. President Mick, YN has transformed once more. He seems determined to take his team to victory. This is not my team. It's Izuku's. I rose up and let out a loud roar as Uraka and Hatsumi grabbed onto my spikes to keep themselves from falling. As for Izuku, he stood on my right shoulder, using his left hand to hold onto my neck. My roar's beak caused many teams to either stop and watch or freeze up, while a few went back to battling each other. The Candy Cane's fearful expression soon turned into one of determination as he glared up at us. You didn't think this would be easy, right, Candy Cane? Chapter 18. The Boy Born with Everything. YN POV. I was standing at my full height, looking down at the small candy cane. Even in this form, he still continued to look at me, refusing to show fear. I let out a monstrous roar, no doubt striking immense fear in the hearts of every human. Izuku. YN, only half of the time is left. Don't stop moving. YN, yes, my king. Before I could start running, I noticed a bright light coming out from one of the humans. Sensing danger, I threw my head and launching Izuku, Ochako, and me high in the air, just in time as the bright light struck me. The attack managed to stagger me and induce some pain, but it would have hurt Izuku and his friends if they remained on me. The other humans didn't fare too well as they were hit with the full force of the electric attack. The screams of my king and his allies causing me to redirect my attention to the sky. Izuku, YN, I got you. I used my tail to catch them before placing them safely back onto my shoulders. They were panting and their grip on me was strong. Izuku, YN, please, warn us next time you're going to do that. YN, apologies, it won't happen again. With the team back on me, I took off running in the opposite direction of the humans. The Candy Cane and his team chased as large walls of ice began to surround us. Izuku, YN, stop! I buried my blades and the feet into the ground, causing us to stop before we went out of bounds. President Mick, Team Midoriya has nowhere left to go! I turned around and faced the humans, causing them to back up before the Candy Cane ordered them to hold their ground. The Candy Cane tried to freeze my legs, but I used my tail to break free of the ice and retaliate by swinging at them. Every time they tried to close a distance, I would slam my tail at or near them, successfully deterring their attacks. As for their electric attacks, I had to keep moving since a direct hit would also hurt Izuku. It was a boring battle, but staying within the ice walls did make it so only we had to worry about one team. President Mick, 1 minute left. Todoroki made it, so he'd have 10 million to himself to seize in an instant. At least that's what I thought 5 minutes ago. But unbelievably, Midoriya has been able to keep away in the cramped space for 5 minutes. Victory is nearing. I just need to keep them away for a little while longer. From the Candy Cane's expression, I could tell he was growing frustrated. My king rubbed my head, causing me to purr loudly as my tail smacked against the ground repeatedly. Izuku, you're doing amazing, YN. Think. A loud blast caused me to focus back on the battle, only to see the Candy Cane's team behind me. But there was no Candy Cane. Where did he? I let out a pained roar as my right leg began to quickly freeze, causing my mere armor to chip and break off. The Candy Cane was scaling my legs and freezing wherever he touched. President Mick, what's this? It seems that the giant beast is wounded. Todoroki is attempting to climb my end in order to secure the 10 million points. I used my tail to smack where he was, but I only managed to break the ice as he had dodged out of the way. I went to strike him once more, but he froze my tail. YN, Izuku, he's climbing up. You might have to engage in combat with him. He nodded as I tried to shake off the Candy Cane, but to no avail. President Mick, time's just about up. Start the countdown. Just as the Candy Cane reached my back, the explosion human came flying through a melted part of the wall. I slammed my tail on the ground, scattering the ice that encased it. Katsuki, damn, Deku! I couldn't see what was happening on my back, but I could feel each other attack they sent at each other. The explosion human redirected himself towards us as Izuku and Todoroki continued to fight. President Mick, time's up! Everyone stopped as the crowd roared with cheers. The explosive human fell face first on the ground, causing me to chuckle. President Mick, that's the end of the second round. The cavalry battle. Victory! I gently wrapped my tail around Izuku before fearlessly shaking off my body, causing the candy cane to fall off. Once he was off, I placed Izuku on the ground as I transformed back into my human form. I had forgotten Ochako and me were still on my shoulders, so when the transformation was complete, I was holding onto them by their waist, while their arms were wrapped around my neck. President Mick, now, let's take a look at the top 4 teams right away. In first place, Team Midoriya! First place once again. Something was tapping my chest, causing me to look down at the blushing Ochako and the still smiling May. Ochako, Wang, can you put us down, please? I placed them both down on the ground before running over to Izuku, who looked to be struggling to hold back tears. I sat down in front of him with my tail wagging furiously behind me. YN. See, Izuku, we came in first place once again. Izuku, yeah, you did an amazing job out there. He took out my collar and secured it around my neck once more. I rubbed my head into his palm before looking up at him. YN, dry your tears, Izuku. When you have 100 reasons to cry, show you have 1,000 reasons to smile. The tears began to slowly leak out, causing me to take a step back, not wanting to get soaked again. President Mick, in second place, Team Todoroki. In third place, Team Bakugo. In fourth place, Team Shinso. Izuku began to let out so many tears that the ground beneath him broke. I am now beginning to worry about his health, as this was the second time he has released so much liquid. My king, maybe your powers has to do with your tears. President Mick, these 4 teams will have a chance, will advance to the final round. We'll take an hour's break for lunch before we start the afternoon festivities. See ya! While I tried to stop Izuku's tears, the candy cane human approached us, causing me to growl. My king dried his tears, wanting to know the reason for my aggression. The candy cane stopped in front of us, with his emotionless face still present. Shoto, I need to speak with you. We were one out of the entrances with the candy cane, but we weren't alone. I could smell the explosive human hiding just around the corner, but I didn't care. I was standing next to Izuku with my arms crossed, staring down at the human. Izuku had a firm grip on my leash, but with the close proximity, it wouldn't do much to stop me if I decided to attack. Izuku, so, what did you want to talk to us about? He didn't answer. He just kept staring at Izuku while occasionally glancing at me. Izuku, if we don't hurry, the cafeteria will probably be crowded and Warren will get upset if he doesn't get a treat. Damn right. Again, no answer. Izuku swallowed nervously, so I used my tail to gently rub his back in an attempt to calm him down. It seemed to have worked, as his posture slightly relaxed. Shoto, I was overpowered, so much that I broke my pledge. He took out his left hand from his pocket and looked at it. Shoto, Ida, Kaminari, Yairozu, Uraka, none of them felt it. At that last instant, I was the only one who was overpowered. Izuku, what does that mean? Shoto, it means I felt something similar coming from you. Midoriya, are you... Izuku began to get nervous while I prepared to silence the candy cane. Shoto, All Might's secret love child or something? Secret love child? What's that? Shoto, well, are you? Izuku, well, that's not it. I mean, even if I was, I would say I wasn't, so I don't think you'd believe me, but anyway, that's not how it is. You should have just said yes. You and All Might are very similar. Izuku, in the first place, let me ask you something. Why do you think that about me? Shoto, since you said that's not how it is, that means there's a connection between you two that you can't talk about, right? Izuku just looked away, knowing he messed up. I would have stabbed my tail through the candy cane's heart to solve a problem, but Izuku has yet to lift his order on me not harming anyone. Shoto, Endeavor's my old man. If I'm not mistaken, he's a human with fire covering his body. However, his presence is not very warm and inviting. It's more cold and unpleasant. Shoto, I'm sure you know that he's been stuck as the number 2 hero for forever. If you have something from the number 1 hero, then His glare was now solely on Izuku, but since I was here, I knew he wouldn't try anything stupid. Shoto, have even more reason to beat you. My old man has a strong desire to rise in the world. As a hero, he won a name for himself with crushing force. Because of that, the living legend, All Might, is a great eyesore to him. Since he couldn't surpass All Might, he moved on to his next plan. Izuku, what are you talking about, Todoroki? What are you trying to tell me? I tapped his shoulder, causing him to look up at me. Wyan, I believe he was birthed for the sole purpose of surpassing All Might, Izuku. The candy cane soon validated my answer. Shoto, you heard of quirk marriages, right? That thing that became a problem for the second and third generation after superpowers appeared? Choosing a spouse based on only strengthening your own quirk and passing it on to your children, forcing people into marriage. The old-fashioned way of thinking brought up by a lack of ethics. He is a man with both accomplishments and money. He won over my mother's relatives and got a hold of my mother's quirk. He is trying to fulfill his own desire by raising me to become a hero to surpass All Might. His expression changed to one full of anger as he looked down to the ground. It's so annoying. I won't become the tool of scum like that. In my memories, my mother is always crying. Your left side is unsightly, my mother said as she poured boiling water on me. My family gave me some as well. Several, in fact. When I was chosen to become a Praetorian, my mother fed me the jelly, and immediately everyone attacked me. I had to fight my way out of the hive so my body could complete the transformation. But I made it, and later had to do it again to become a Ravager. I was the only one to survive the second time. Shoto, basically, I picked a fight with you to show him what I could do, without him using my old damn man's quirk. No. I'll reject him completely by winning first place without using it. He began to walk away, causing Izuku to slowly release my leash. Shoto, I don't care if you can't tell me how you're connected to All Might. No matter what you are to All Might, I will rise above you with just my right side. Sorry for wasting your time. My queen quickly catched up with the candy cane while I followed closer behind. Izuku, the candy cane stopped walking but didn't turn around to face us. I stood on my king's right, annoyed at all the talking that's been happening. Izuku, I have always been supported by others. He stood closer to me and gently grabbed my forearm. I just glanced at him before looking at the candy cane's back. Izuku, that was the case earlier too. I'm here because of the people who have supported me. His hold on my arm tightened as he looked down at the ground with a fond look in his eyes. I brought my other hand up and brushed his head just like he does with me. The only difference here is that he's not purring like I would. Can humans even purr? My head pats caused him to look up at me with a smile before looking back to the candy cane. Izuku, saving people with a fearless smile, the greatest hero, All Might. I want to be like him. And in order to do that, I have to be strong enough to become number one. The wind began to blow all of a sudden, causing me to look around, wondering what caused the sudden change of weather. Izuku, my motivation might seem trivial compared to yours, but I can't lose either. I have to live up to the hopes of those who supported me. That declaration of war you gave earlier, I'll return that. Why, and does that mean I can kill him? Without looking, Izuku tugged my leash before giving me a light glare. His focus then returned to the human in front of us. Izuku, I will beat you too. The candy cane stared for a moment before walking away. Izuku released a hold on me as he stared at the retreating form of the candy cane. Wyan, can we go to lunch now? He grabbed my leash before standing on his tippy toes to pat my head. To make it easier for him, I crouched down, allowing him to pet me easier. Izuku, sure. I was standing in the stadium near a group of new female humans. They were in outfits unsuitable for combat, doing synchronized movements. President Mick, now that lunch is over, it's finally time to reveal the last game. But before that, there's good news for all of you who didn't make it to the finals. This is just a sports festival. So we prepared recreational games that everyone can participate in too. We've even brought real cheerleaders from America to liven things up. I continued to stare at the energetic humans, and when they saw me staring, several of them began to turn red before a few winked at me. Anyways, confused on the gesture, I did it back to them, causing the rest to hide their faces as they began to whisper to each other. Before I could question the strange interaction, Izuku quickly came over and began to tug me away from the humans. Izuku, let's go over here, YN. Okay. We were soon on the other side of the stadium where everyone was gathering. I sat next to Izuku playing with the grass on the ground when the familiar scent of Suyu, Mina, and Ochako came from behind us. President Mick, what's the matter, Class A? What kind of fan service is that? I turned around only to see all the females of our class dressed in the same outfits as the other humans. Not too far away, the small human and electric human were giving each other the thumbs up. The look in the small human's eyes was slightly concerning. Momo, Mineta, Kaminari, you tricked us, didn't you? I looked back at them just as the second in command of the class fell to her knees. But my eyes followed the large bundle of noodles in her hands. Momo, why am I always caught up in Mineta's schemes? I got up and I began to slowly walk on all fours towards a large collection of food, just as Ochako stood next to the second. Just as Ochako stood next to the second in command. Momo, I've even used creation to make the outfits. Deciding now that it was time to strike, I leapt forward, knocking the human on the ground, startling her. I tried to bite the noodles, but she kept moving her hands away. So I pinned her arms down. Oh my god, he's making everything worse for himself, I swear. Momo, hey, get off! I bit into one and pulled it out of her grip before jumping off of her. The commotion caused the rest of the class to look at us. Ochako, wait, Ryan, don't eat that! She tried to pull the noodles from my mouth, but I kept a firm hold on the food. Someone began to pull my shoulders, and from the acidic scent, I could tell it was Mina. Mina, that isn't food. It's a pom-pom. It sounds delicious. I was about to try and shake the two humans off when the call from my king stopped me. Izuku, YN. I immediately turned around and ran to Izuku while dragging Mina and Ochako behind me. I stopped in front of Izuku before sitting down waiting for the treat. Izuku, drop the pom-pom, please. I reluctantly spat the noodles out of my mouth, making Izuku smile as he rubbed my head. Izuku, good boy. He held the treat in front of my face, allowing me to use my tongue to grab and eat it. Mina and Ochako got up, still disoriented from being dragged. Ochako, how is he so obedient to you? My king just smiled at her before giving me one last pat and ordering me to follow him. We were now all gathered in the front of the stage where Midnight was holding a very large yellow box. President Mick, all right, everyone, let's have fun competing in the recreational games. When that's over, the 16 of the 4 teams that made it to the final round will duke it out tournament style, one-on-one combat. This will probably be my favorite event of this tournament. I wonder if I can dismember my opponent. Izuku, remember, you can't kill or severely injure anyone, okay? I pretended not to hear him, which caused him to grab my face and make me look at him. Izuku, okay? YN, yes, Izuku. Midnight. Now, let's draw lots to determine the bracket. Once the bracket is determined, we'll have the recreational games and then start. The 16 finalists can choose whether or not they want to participate in the recreation. I looked at Izuku with puppy eyes, wanting to join the games. He just rubbed my head and gave me a small smile. Izuku, you can participate if you want to. Yes! Midnight, I'm sure some of you want to rest or save your strength. Now, from the first place team, Mashiru, excuse me? We turned to face the human with a tail as he continued to speak. Mashiru, I'm withdrawing. Why? This is the perfect chance to spill blood that isn't yours. Izuku, Ujiro, why? Tenya, this is a rare chance for pros to see you. Mashiru, I barely remember anything from the Cavalry battle until almost the end. I think it was that guy's quirk. I looked to our right toward a human with purple hair. He looked away when he saw me and Izuku looking at him. Isn't that the same human to declare war on us? He might have some sort of mental attack, and if he does, I have no defense against that. The only experience I have with those types of attacks are Midnight, Shota, Orjiro, I accept your withdrawal. Huh? What happened? I wasn't paying attention. Midnight, in that case, we'll have to move up 2 people from the 5th place Cavalry team battle team. A female human with orange hair spoke up. It's Suka. If that's what's going to happen, then rather than us, who barely did anything during the Cavalry battle, it should be them, right? After getting confirmation from 3 humans behind her, she turned back to Midnight. Itsuka, the one who's fought to the end and stayed in the top. Team Tetsu, right? The team in question were surprised while I let out a sigh annoyed by all the delays. I just want to spill the blood of my enemies. Is that so much to ask? Tetsu, Kendo, Itsuka. This isn't collision or anything. It just makes sense. Midnight. And so, Tetsu and Shiozaki have moved up to make 16. This is the bracket based on the results of the drawing. I looked up at the screen to find out who my opponent shall be. It was... And then basically this was the author when people like decided to pick their pick and whatnot. And turns out some people probably picked Shoto. So we're about to find out. Chapter 19. The Tournament. Hear ye. The person who has to fight YN is Shoto Todoroki with 20 votes. It has 28, but like, you know, you guys get the point. YN POV. Midnight. This is the bracket based on the results of the drawing. I stood up and looked at the screen to see who my king's opponent shall be. Shinso versus Midoriya. The purple-haired man? Then who do I have to fight? My eyes went one space to the right handle on my name and then my opponent's. When I saw this human's name, I smiled. YN versus Todoroki. It was the name of the candy cane. I looked to my right, seeing him already glaring at me. My smile only grew larger, showing off my very sharp teeth. I'm going to enjoy ripping you apart. Izuku, you can't kill him, YN. I looked at my king only to see him giving me a stern look. I knew he wouldn't allow me to kill, but maybe I can negotiate how much damage I can inflict on the candy cane. YN, what if I just cut off his arm? Izuku, no. YN, a finger? Izuku, no. YN, a toe? Izuku, no. YN, acid to the face? Izuku, absolutely not. YN, why not? Half of his face is already scarred. I might as well finish the job. He reached up and grabbed my face, making me look at him in the eyes. Izuku, listen very carefully, YN. You cannot kill him. You cannot melt him. You cannot mutilate him. He squished my cheeks together and placed his forehead on mine with his stern gaze never leaving me. Izuku, got it? Normally, I would use my puppy eyes to get my way, but the sternness in his green eyes made me submit. I let out a small quiet hiss, causing Izuku's eyes to soften as he released my face. Izuku, good. I'm sorry I had to be stern with you, but I have to get you to stop trying to kill Hitachi. It's you, isn't it? Izuku Midoriya. The sudden appearance of the purple-haired man, human, surprised Izuku, causing him to turn around and back into me. I wrapped my arms around my king and glared at the human. He, however, didn't seem bothered by my aggressive behavior, instead returning his gaze to Izuku. Hitachi, looking forward to the first match. Izuku, meet. My senses began to scream danger, so I quickly placed my hand over Izuku's mouth. This caused the purple-haired man to smirk at me before turning and walking away. I slowly removed my hand from Izuku's mouth as my eyes stayed on the human. I wasn't sure what caused my instincts to go crazy, but I had no doubt that the purple human-haired was the cause of it. My king looked up at me, causing me to look down at him. Izuku, YN, what's the matter? YN, I sense danger. I don't know what exactly from, but it had to do something with that human. Just be cautious when you battle him. He gave me a small nod and patted my right arm to get me to release him, which I did. President Mick, all right, let's leave the tournament aside for a momentary interlude. Let's have fun with the recreation. Third POV. While Izuku went to clear his mind for the upcoming event, YN remained to participate in the recreational activities. President Mick, first is the scavenger hunt. Everyone ran to grab one of the many cards scattered around across the stadium to see what they're required to find. YN picked up one of the cards and turned it over to reveal his item. Grape. He frantically scanned the area until his eyes landed on a particular student. In only a few seconds, Mineta was screaming for someone to help him, as YN was trying to rip off one of the balls on his head. However, everyone turned a blind eye to his call for help, not wanting to get in between YN and his objective, especially after what they saw he was capable of. YN continued to have fun doing the activities, all the while an invisible figure began to near the stadium. But as soon as the event started to end, the cinnamon toss finishing the creation of the arena, YN POV. I was standing next to my king as we waited for his match. President Mick, hey guys, are you ready? The crowd roared in cheers as I looked in the arena excited to battle. I wasn't going to kill anyone, but an accident may occur, resulting in the death of my opponent. President Mick, a lot's happened, but it's now come to this, a serious battle. You can only depend on yourself. Even if you're not a hero, you'll face lots of situations like that. You get it, right? Heart, skill, body, wisdom, and knowledge. I looked at my king, seeing his body slightly tremble in either fear, nervousness, or both. I just placed my hand on his shoulder, causing him to look up at me. Lion, don't worry, Zuko. Just remember what I taught you. When nothing is going right, go left. He just gave me a confused look before a small smile made its way onto his face. All Might, hey! We both turned around and saw All Might walking towards us. All Might, sorry I'm late, but... YN, your fight is not until later. How did you get here? YN, well... Flashback, third POV. YN was following Izuku's scent toward one of the entrances until he was stopped by two pro heroes. One of the heroes placed his hand on YN's shoulder to keep him from continuing on. Excuse me, but you're not allowed. Before he could finish speaking, YN wrapped his tail around the pro hero's neck before slamming him into the ground. The hero was now unconscious, leaving his comrade to deal with the enraged beast alone. Hey, the second hero didn't fare any better as the two powerful hands swiftly grabbed his head, and with no effort, YN began smashing the hero's head into the wall until he stopped moving. To hide the unconscious heroes, YN dragged them over to a nearby trash can where he proceeded to stuff them into it. He placed the lid back on the trash can before wiping his hands and continuing to go see his king. Flashback end. YN, I got lost? He just looked at me weirdly before slowly nodding. All Might, okay. I definitely fooled him. He turned to Izuku, who was also looking at me weirdly before he turned to face All Might. All Might, you figured it out one for all, right? Izuku, no, I'm still worried. I can see it in my head by imagining the microwave and how I hit the villain, but it still feels unsteady, and if I don't focus, like it'll fall apart. Besides, as you saw, with my current body, even if I succeeded, I could just end up with a little more power. All Might, yes. If we talk in terms of the 0 or 100% from before, what can your body release right now is about a 5. Izuku, 5% of my power? Hearing that, I feel like I've really been blessed with friends and luck. All Might just walked forward before hitting Izuku on the head. I hissed and tried to swing at him with my claws, but he ducked beneath my arm before shoving a treat in my mouth. I slowly sat back down as I consumed the delicious food, causing a smile to spread across my face. He patted my head before speaking with Izuku once again. All Might, you should just say, I'll do my best, damn it. You prince of nonsense. A prince. He's an emperor. I just need to find him some of my siblings to rule over. All Might, is the image of the hero you're trying to be that flimsy? Listen, it's the times when you're scared and worried that you should deal with smiling. He turned into his stronger form, giving Izuku a thumbs up while I moved to stand by his side. All Might, you've made it this far. It's fine if it's just a bluff. Stand proud. Don't forget I've got high hopes for you. My king gave him a nervous smile before turning to face the entry toward the arena. I wanted to stay by his side, but All Might tried to drag me back to the seats. I say tried because he had to use a lot of strength to get me away from Izuku and even more to keep me from running. Eventually, he managed to carry me back to where everyone else was, but not without suffering a few scratches. He spotted Tsuyu, Ochako, and Mina sitting together, so he carried me over to them before plopping me onto their feet. At their feet. All Might, could you three keep an eye on YN, please? Mina, oh, sure, we'd be glad to. All Might, thank you. He turned and began to walk away while I stood up. I looked around for an empty seat, but couldn't find any until Uraka tapped my shoulder. She gestured to the seat she was just sitting in before giving me a smile. Ochako, you can have my seat. I'll try and find another place to sit before the match starts. I nodded my head before sitting down in the chair and draping my tail over the seat so I could sit properly down. Why didn't I just let her sit in my lap? Izuku always sits in my lap when there weren't enough seats available. She was about to walk away, so I wrapped my tail around her waist and pulled her into my lap. Ochako, hey, what are you? I just wrapped my arms around her waist as well, causing her to stop talking as her face turned bright red. I looked to my right, seeing Ashido with a smirk on her face. She leaned over and whispered something in Araka's ear, causing her to turn even redder. Mina, you two sure look cute together. Araka began to stutter and mumble out objections, which reminded me of how Izuku acts when he's embarrassed. President Mick, audience! The finals that you've all been waiting for are finally starting. Match number 1. The huge screen displayed on an image of the purple-haired human and one of the very nervous-looking Izuku. President Mick, even though he's done well, what's with that face? From the hero's curse, it's Izuku Midoriya versus, he hasn't done anything to stand out yet. From the general studies, it's Hitoshi Shinso. The rules are simple. Force your opponent out of the bounds or immobilize them. So ripping off my opponent's leg counts as immobilizing them, right? President Mick, you can also win making your opponent say, I give up. Bring on the injuries. Because we've got our very own recovery girl waiting on standby. Put your morals and ethics aside for a moment. But of course, anything life-threatening is crap. It's not allowed. Heroes should only use their fists to catch villains. No wonder why you humans still have so many villains. If you don't kill your enemy, they'll just come back stronger. President Mick, ready? Start. Not much happened at first until the purple-haired man said something to make Izuku angry. He yelled something out and ran forward, but stopped not a second after. Later, it was almost like he was frozen. President Mick, hey, what's the matter? It's the important first match. Liven things up. I stared closely at my king's face, seeing he was in some sort of trance. President Mick, Midoriya, the match has just started. And he's completely frozen? He's got a blank look on his face and isn't moving a muscle. Is this Shinso's quirk? He didn't stand out at all. But he could be actually someone amazing? I glared at the purple-haired human as I began to emit a low growl. President Mick, Hitoshi Shinso from General Study has gotten the better of Izuku Midoriya from the hero course? Who would have imagined this? Will the bottom really overthrow the top? The purple-haired human spoke again, and Izuku turned around and began to walk to the other side of the arena. My king, that's the wrong way! President Mick, huh? What? Midoriya is being so obedient! Araka held onto my tail as she began to grow nervous. Chakodeku, why? He began to slowly walk towards the edge of the arena. If I let out an ear-piercing scream, will that be enough to break the control that human has over Izuku? Even if it is, I'm not allowed to interfere. Izuku's fingers slightly twitched, and just before he stepped out of bounds, a powerful blast shot in the air. He managed to stop himself just at the edge of the arena. I looked down at his fingers, seeing that the two have been broken. It seemed he managed to break free of the purple-haired human's control. President Mick, this is... Midoriya stopped! The crowd began to cheer loudly, and I decided to join in by letting out a small roar. The human tried to get Izuku to speak again, but he kept his mouth shut this time and instead charged toward him. As Izuku continued running, the purple-haired human kept trying to get him to speak until Izuku closed the distance. He began to push the human toward the edge of the arena, but it seemed he had some fight in him as he punched Izuku in the face. I just had to admire my king's endurance, since he just ignored the attack and kept pushing. However, a human can only take so much pain. The purple-haired human punched Izuku's broken finger, causing him to let go. I let out a loud roar, startling the humans around me. Ashido began to pat my head, while Araka scratched my chin in an effort to calm me down. Mina, Midoriya will be alright, just calm down. Suyu held out a snack for me, causing me to open my mouth. I used my tongue to grab the treat. As I was eating the snack, I imagined it was the bones of the purple-haired human. I can imagine, this is like, how I imagine this is like, how, like old, like how dads watch football. They get really aggressive about it. They're like, come on, and that's how I imagine us being right now. So if you can't get a great image in your head, hopefully that's a good enough image. Oh, anyways, slowly I calmed down just in time to see Izuku toss his opponent over his shoulder and out of bounds. Midnight. Shinso is out of bounds. Midoriya advances to round 2. I let out a loud roar as the crowd cheered as well. Izuku is getting stronger. He might even be able to surpass my strength one day. My match was next, so I was walking towards the entrance of the arena. But on the way, I had a small confrontation with the Candy Cane's father. But I think I resolved the misunderstanding between us well. Izuku, YN? I immediately turned around and exploded in happiness at the sight of my king. He stopped in front of me with a huge smile on his face. Izuku, I just came to wish you luck on your match. I crouched down, allowing him to pet me. YN, thank you, Izuku. That means a lot to me. But this won't be much of a battle. After a few more seconds of bliss, he stopped and removed my collar. He then lifted up my head so I was looking him in the eyes. Izuku, remember, don't kill, mutilate, or melt him, okay? I reluctantly nodded my head, which seemed to satisfy him. He hugged my head close to his chest, causing me to wrap my arms around his waist to return the hug. My king then broke the hug and gave me one last smile before running back in the direction of the stands. Izuku, I'll be rooting for you! A small smile spread across my face as I turned back around and continued to walk towards the arena, as my smile turned into a sinister smirk. Soon I made it to the arena and the Candy King was already waiting for me. I climbed up the steps as a loud human began to speak. President Mick, thanks for waiting! Next up is these guys! The screen displayed an image of the Candy Cane who seemed empty of all emotions, while my image was me attacking the camera with rage clearly burning within my eyes. What the fuck? President Mick, he's full of primal rage and truly a creature of war. You know him, you hear him. From the hero chorus, it's YN. It let out a loud booming roar as the crowd cheered for me. President Mick versus staying second in the prelims. You're way too strong, kid. He wasn't recommended for a mission for nothing. Also, from the hero chorus, it's Shoto Todoroki. The crowd cheered for the Candy Cane as well, so I just stared at him with my tail slowly swishing from side to side. President Mick, and now for the second match of the finals. I kept my gaze on the Candy Cane as he stared right back at me. But instead of no emotions in his eyes, I saw anger, which caused a huge grin to form on my face, revealing my sharp teeth. President Mick, ready? Start! Immediately, the Candy Cane attacked, sending a large wave of ice flowing toward me. I reeled my arm back and morphed it into my Ravager blade before swinging at the ice wave. The power and size of my blade completely destroyed the ice and even sent many pieces hurling back at him. Since Izuku limited the things I can do, I'll just toss the Candy Cane out of the arena. I quickly morphed my arm back before charging towards the Candy Cane. But as I was closing in, he had recovered from my counterattack. He sent wave after wave of ice towards me, but each time I dodged them with ease. I was now finally close enough to leap at him. But while I was in the air, he let out a large blast of ice. Unlike the first few attacks, this one was much larger and colder. My entire body and the arena behind me was encased in a thick layer of ice. I focused my gaze back on the Candy Cane, seeing him panting as ice covered half of his body. Well played, Candy Cane, although. Midnight, YN, can you move? I just flexed my muscles, and with mere seconds, the ice trapping my body cracked before completely shattering. I kept eye contact with the Candy Cane as I landed on my feet in front of him. That won't be enough to keep me down. A look of shock was on his face before it turned into a glare. He raised his left hand to try and freeze me again, but his agitation allowed me to get behind him and grab his wrist. While I kept his hand away, I placed my claws against his neck. I leaned down to whisper into his ear with my real voice. Wyan, if this was a real battle, I would have ripped your throat out. Face it, Candy Cane, you're too weak to fight me just yet. Shoto, get off of me! He raised his right hand up to my face, and my vision was quickly engulfed in flames. I released my hold on the Candy Cane and backed away while covering my face. Excuse me. The fire didn't hurt, but the sudden brightness blinded me. I felt the Candy Cane place his hands on my chest in an attempt to push me out of the bounds, but I stayed rooted in place. I wrapped my tail around his right leg and lifted him up in the air while I rubbed my eyes. After a few seconds, my vision cleared back to normal, allowing me to see the still struggling Candy Cane. YN, you're just like the explosive human. You both don't know when to quit. Shoto, I didn't let him finish as I used my tail to slam him onto the ground over and over again. This was the same thing I did to explosive human, only this time I wasn't holding back much. The blood began to stain whenever his face met the ground, but I didn't stop. In fact, I just sat down and watched as his limp body kept hitting the ground. Symptomus, Symptom stop! The voice of the sentient block caused me to stop, tossing the candy cane, but not before slamming him down onto the ground one last time. Midnight and the block walked up to the stage and came over to us. Midnight, release him. What, is the match over? I unwrapped my tail from his leg before getting up and stretching my limbs. They crouched down and turned the candy cane's body over, revealing his very bloodied face. He was, unfortunately, still breathing, but remained limp and motionless. The block looked up at Midnight and shook his head, causing her to get up and raise her arm. Midnight, Todoroki is knocked out. Wyan advances to the second round. I let out a powerful roar at my victory, although I wouldn't call this a warm-up. The crowd, however, didn't cheer as they looked in shock, but I didn't care as I proceeded to do a victory dance. Period. Period, king. Period. Victory sure is sweet. I am so sorry, guys. I didn't want it to be like this, but we're in the last chapter. This is the last Everest chapter. I am so sorry, guys. This is the last chapter that was ever uploaded to this story since 2021. I am so sorry if I disappointed anyone out there, because I know how it feels, and whatnot. You know, whenever it's at the peak of the moment, we're about to get some shit going on, and then it stops. I am so sorry, guys. Trust me, I felt the exact same way you guys feel. But, it's okay. At least we had the pleasure of reading it. Anyways, guys, I apologize for the very sudden cutoff of after the victory dance. Sadly, there is no victory dance for us, but it's okay. At least we were able to listen into this beautiful story. I'm telling you guys, this story is amazing. I wish they continued uploading it, but sometimes life happens, and we don't always get what we desire. It's okay. Anywho, how did you guys like the story? Did you like it? What type of emotions were you feeling from it? Because I was feeling a lot of emotions, guys. Let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys have any xenomorph stories that are similar to this one, or kind of unique and different in its own, that's in the Bnha fandom or something like that, please let me know in the comments down below, because I've been looking for some and it's been hard to find some. Okay, this is probably one of the main stories I found that are really, really good. Just sadly never finished. Anyways, guys, we finished it. Yay! I'm so happy. Sadly, it is technically discontinued, so I will put finished/discontinued for this story. Wait, guys, I would not lose hope just yet. It may be changed slightly, because I just went, while I was editing, to the author's account on Wattpad where we read the story, and looks like in the conversations they finally came back. It also turns out they updated the intro to the Xeno-Hero, and that they may potentially update it, long story short. So don't lose complete hope, guys. We got this. I will be checking once in a while if they update or not, so don't to worry. And yeah, guys, because even if they upload 1 or 2 years later, we gonna be reading it. Guys, because I love this story so much. I will be so happy if it gets uploaded. So happy. I will keep an eye out for updates, like I have been for years. And hopefully they may or may not update it in the maybe 20 years I have left to live. Maybe, I have no idea. We will see, guys, because if they update the story, I'm for real. Even years later, I'm gonna read it. Anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy it, though. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more amazing videos, guys. Again, have any suggestions for me, anything like that, or find any similar stories like this, please let me know in the comments down below. Please. I'm begging you with full tears. But thank you guys for watching. I shall see y'all in the futuristic video. Bye and peace, y'all.